Appreciate you taking a couple seconds here, but I'll tell you what, this has been maybe the toughest SEC I have ever seen since we were in school.
I think it's the toughest league that I've ever seen relative to the field. And when you factor in that, you know, the last time a league has performed to this level, you'd have to go back to the mid-1980s. But those leagues were 8 teams. Right. This is 16 teams. And, you know, the backloaded schedules for the better teams in the league, I mean, they're playing ranked team after ranked team. It's like the NBA. So, you know, you really have to look at the quality of performance rather than win or loss, because you can lose a game in this league that would beat 95% of Division I. That's how tough the league has been.
Jay, you get the great pleasure of sitting courtside for this game tomorrow. #1 Auburn coming in, and you know, when I look at both of these teams, they're built very similar. The two coaches that took over, they did. It's not full of high school 5 stars. You know, it's guys that fit what they're trying to do. Correct?
Yes, but I mean, they may not be 5 stars because they're overlooked in high school, but they're 5-star quality players. And Auburn's a little bit different because more of those Auburn players have been in the Bruce Pearl's system for a longer period of time. So he's had guys for, you know, 3 years plus in the program, mixed in with some younger players. Mark Pope, all his players are new. I mean, the only guy that really knew him is Jackson Robinson, who played for him at BYU. So it's maybe a little bit more of a challenge to have formed a cohesive unit as fast as Mark did. It's really pretty remarkable, I think, what Kentucky's accomplished, and especially when you consider the number of injuries that they've had that haven't necessarily put players out for the year, with the exception of Kirk Kriisa. But to have these fluctuating lineups and still play at that high of a level is really a tremendous accomplishment.
Jay, when you look at this Auburn team, they play almost like they have a chip on their shoulder, like somebody stole their lunch money. I mean, you better be ready. For the Kentucky fans that haven't seen them, this is going to be a physical game, isn't it?
Yeah, they're very physical. They're broad-shouldered. Their big guys are strong, long, and athletic. So they can challenge plays at the rim, and they put really good pressure on the ball. They'll trap occasionally. They're really good guarding ball screens, but they can block shots. So you get past somebody, you're going to have a confrontation at the rim. And they're very good offensively. This is an excellent shooting team. So they have 4 guys that all shoot, you know, 38% from 3 or more or better. And then they knock their free throws down. So late game, they got 4 guys that are shooting 85% plus. So you put the ball in their hands, and it's a lot easier for them to operate down the stretch when they know if they get fouled, they can knock their free throws down.
I want to talk about one player in particular because a lot of people in Kentucky are familiar with this guy, and that's Broome, obviously Morehead State for his first 2 years. He has blossomed into an All-American here under Bruce, hasn't he?
Well, he was a great player at Morehead State. You know, he was Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. I think the question, you know, when he first got to Auburn, I was on a trip with them. We broadcast the games in Israel. They had a foreign tour, and Bruce was like, hey, he put up big numbers at Morehead State. The question is, will it translate to the SEC? And clearly it did. He's a run stopper. When you have to stop an opposing team's run, they just throw the ball to him. You know, left-handed, he loves to get to his left, but he's so good around the basket. Now he can stretch you a little bit because he can make a 3. But gets fouled a lot, goes to the line, one of the best offensive rebounders and shot blockers in the country, and he's a worthy candidate for National Player of the Year. I think it's down to him and Cooper Flagg at Duke.
Jay, you mentioned the injuries Kentucky's had a lot. It's going to be imperative that Lamont Butler stay out of foul trouble. He'll play this afternoon, but he has to be that tip of the spear on the defensive side and run things offensively, especially Jackson's probably not going to play. So, again, they're going to be a little undermanned going into this one.
Lamont Butler makes such a huge difference for Kentucky because he's an excellent ball handler. He's one of the best on-ball defenders in the country, and he's a really good leader. So when he has the ball, no other player on the floor has to worry about him. They can just do their job of looking to get open, cutting, screening, the things that Kentucky does so well. When he's out of the game, that creates a problem. And they've done well with it, especially considering Kirk Kriisa not there as a backup. But it does create a little more difficulty because you do have to be more mindful of helping out whoever's handling the ball and trying to run the team. Butler's got that shoulder. It's been problematic, but he's battled through it. But the thing that he's done better this year than any year he's been in college is he's finishing around the basket better. He's a much better scorer around the rim and from two, and he's a much more capable three-point threat than he's ever been. So you add those things together, and you've got truly one of the best point guards in the country.
All right, finally, what does Kentucky have to do to win this game?
I think they have to accept the physical challenge that Auburn brings. So it's going to be a challenge to rebound. Number one is transition defense. They got to get back. And one of the ways that you bolster and help your transition defense is by running really good offense. And so on the offensive end, I think Kentucky has to look to run at every opportunity, because an early shot is going to be more valuable than one they get later in the clock, just because you're going against a set defense for that period. But I think running offense with pace and space, Auburn can't be physical with what they can't catch.
Right.
So if you can get up the floor quickly and get into some actions where you can really cut and move, because that's what Kentucky does so well. They can initiate offense from so many different places on the floor. Even when they get the ball into the post or mid-post or elbow to Amari Williams, he's such a good passer. They can run split action. Sure. They make reads so effectively. They're really difficult to deal with. But they also have to be physical on the defensive end. I think the difference between Kentucky being a second weekend team and having a chance to really do something in the tournament is going to lie with how physical they can be defensively. They've improved greatly on the defensive end. I still think they can make another jump, but that's what they're going to have to do, is become one of the elite defensive teams the last month of the season.